Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paul Michaels Revolution podcast. Today's show is a big game indicating dogs, deer dog training blueprint Q&A that we hold in the big game indicating dogs inner circle. And the big game indicating dogs inner circle is a closed private Facebook group where all of the people that have subscribed or purchased the deer dog training blueprint all go into this exclusive group where everyone shares photos and stories and asks questions and sort of helps each other along. And we also hold these Q&A sessions in here every couple of weeks where members of the deer dog training blueprint and the big game indicating dogs inner circle can ask questions and I answer them. And then we put the audio up on the podcast, the Paul Michaels Revolution podcast, and so anyone can listen to the answers, but only members can ask the questions. If you're interested in joining the Deer Dog Training Blueprint or the Big Game Indicating Dogs Inner Circle, you can find all the links for that on biggameindicatingdogs.com. Also, Big Game Indicating Dogs on Facebook and Instagram. Al and Cameron are already on, and Stuart Cooper. How's the sound here, guys? This is the first time using all this flash gear. Let me know. Just going to try adjusting my mic a little bit here. We've got a little bit of new gear this week, which has allowed us to do this live streaming with this gear. It also allows us to get the sound a little bit better and a few other things. But yeah, main thing is now we can actually stream live with all this gear, and we'll, in the future, if we ever want to, we're not going to for a while, but in the future, if we ever want to, we can actually like stream podcasts live or do live streams with multiple people. We can have two guests in and all that sort of stuff. But if you're someone that's coming on the podcast soon, don't freak out because we're not going to do podcasts live for a while. Jonathan Griff, the bearded bushman, how's it going, mate? The boys are saying the sound's bloody good, so that's good. I'm not sure how the video and the sound is coming through via Facebook Live, because Facebook Live, and actually even the sound when we directly upload a proper HD video to Facebook doesn't seem to turn out all that good. But well, it is good, but it's not quite as good as it will be, as the audio will be. YouTube seems to do a really good job of the video and audio, and the audio on the podcast is also really good. And the podcast, guys, again, you might be watching this on YouTube or Facebook, and the podcast is all on a completely different platform because we occasionally talk about other subjects that are not hunting or dog training related. So if you're watching this on Facebook and YouTube and you kind of run out of time where you think, man, I want to listen to this while I'm doing other stuff, the Paul Michaels Revolution podcast is now searchable on pretty much all of the podcast apps. So you can bring it up while you're driving or while you're doing stuff, put the headphones in and listen to this while you do other stuff. I do it a lot. Podcasts are really cool. It's just a really good way of sort of absorbing information. Right, questions. So we have done actual phone calls in the past with these Q&As where I actually call people up. The last Q&A we didn't do that, and I just talked based off questions in the comments, and I actually feel like that was one of the better Q&As we've done. And I feel like some of the worst Q&As we've done have been when we've done just one or two phone calls talking to one person. It's probably really good for that one person, but I think the Q&As where we just answer questions, or where I answer questions or just talk off the cuff about things that people are putting in the comments, I can really get a rhythm on, and I can talk about things in more general terms instead of just directly answering one person's question, and I think in the long term that type of information actually helps more people. And the last Q&A was better anyway, so we're gonna try that. Just try to get the Q&As rolling just from the comments. And another thing that allows us to do as well, which is something I put out there last night, was in the Big Game Indicating Dogs Inner Circle Facebook page, was if you can't make it to the Q&A, just ask your questions in the comment. I always put a post up, Q&A tomorrow, and I put the time and date and all that sort of thing. Ask a question in the comment section, and then I can just address it, talk about it in the Q&A, and then when you get time later on, if you get on the podcast buzz, you can listen to it on the way to work or on the headphones while you're doing other stuff. And yeah, just really it was pretty early days with this whole thing, with the Q&As and the podcast and the good gear and all of that. So we're still sort of trying to work out what's the best way of getting the best and most information across that we can. Excuse me here, I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee. Man, that's a good coffee. That's good. Right, Keith Cook, Big Game Indicating Dogs Inner Circle. Keith is heading off to help a farmer with some roos tomorrow, so we'll miss the Q&A. But could you elaborate on free time for pups? Cheers, Keith. I hope the roos go good, mate. You're definitely from Australia. Thanks for the question. Okay, could I elaborate on free time for pups? And we could just do an hour podcast on this. So free time for pups. So in the Dear Dog Training Blueprint, we really do keep everything very controlled and structured. A lot of kenneling, and then the pups basically on the long line training as much as possible, and it works very, very well. But the main challenging thing that people have with that is, how do I give my pup enough free time? How do I give it enough exercise? How do I just sort of stop it from going around the bend and just getting pent up energy and barking and whining in the kennel? And sometimes too much free time and too much pent up energy can actually have a negative effect on training. And it's a really common question, and it's a difficult one to answer too. We went back into part 1 and made some updates talking about giving the pup or dog free time. We're talking about a bit more in the Palmico Dog Guide. But, it's a hard one, because if I say to everyone, just give your pup or dog loads of free time, then more and more people are going to have more and more issues. And the main reason why the Dear Dog Training Blueprint works so well, and we get a lot of people saying, can't believe how well it works, it's working so well, and their friends are saying, how did you get your dog like that? Oh, I can't believe how good that pup is at that age, and all that sort of stuff. And a huge reason for that is because it's so controlled and structured over that first 12 months, and it's only that first 12 months. And after that, because you've kept it so controlled and structured, and you haven't left your dog out to run around and learn all these bad habits, also a huge part of kenneling and minimizing free time is the fact that when you keep it all comes down to the way a pup or dog prioritizes activities. So, hey, can you guys just let me know if I'm puffing into the that was something I did on the podcast a little bit last time. I'm just trying to work that out. Just give me a yep, it's all good, or a you're puffing into the mic every time you say a P. This all comes down to the way a pup or dog prioritizes activities, and this is a huge one. If you have a pup or dog running around getting loads of free time, it's playing with the kids, it's running around with the missus, or you might be a lady training a dog and a big game indicating dog, because we've got that, and it's running around with your husband or partner. It's getting loads of free time. It's been a little rat bag digging holes and rolling around the place, destroying everything and just generally having a good time the whole time. And then you go, right, I'm going to go do my 10 minutes training from the Deer Dog Training Blueprint and put a long line on that pup and go and do some range work and some stop drills with it. That's the most boringest, lamest thing that pup's done all day. It's been running around, tearing around, rolling around with the kids, digging holes and climbing all over your partner's lap and doing all this fun stuff. And then you want to turn up and put a long line on it and tell it to sit or tell it to walk along nicely 5 meters in front and turn when you turn and stop when you stop and do all that stuff. It's just the pup's just not engaged in it, and it will prioritize that time with you. That training with you will can become a very low priority activity. And like this whole dynamic of a pup having loads of free time and then training becoming a low priority activity, or the pup having loads of fun with other people, so the person who's actually training it and who wants to have the bond and the control and the relationship can't have it because they're not the one doing all the fun stuff, they're the one trying to turn up doing all the boring stuff. That whole thing, and it's not the only thing why kenneling's so important over that first 12 months, but that's one of the biggest factors of it. If that pup's spending a lot of time in the kennel, when you turn up and let the pup out and put a long line on it and start working with it and doing stop drills and sit drills and working on range and turns and control and stop to the shot and then your scent work and all the stuff we do over the first year in the Deer Dog Training Blueprint, that's the most fun thing it's done all day. It's the best thing it ever does over that first year, and that's what that pup or dog lives for. It lives for you to turn up and for it to, so it can listen to you and work with you as a team and work all that stuff. It's just it's a very, very important part of it. So you know, and that's why we're doing these Q&As, and that's why the Deer Dog Training Blueprint is 15.5 hours, because there's no short answer to these questions, and there's so much ground to cover before all that is very, very important to explain, because a lot of people that saying, oh, can you explain free time, and I want to give my pup more free time. If I just explain giving your pup free time before I explain that, then you don't know why you are or are not giving your pup more or less free time. And a lot of people hear that and go, hey, that actually makes a hell of a lot of sense. So sweet as, don't worry about it. I'm just going to stick to what I'm doing and not worry about that, because a lot of people have things like their partners saying, oh, let the pup out of the kennel, or their mate saying, why is your pup always in the kennel? And when I come around and and it comes running up to me and I'm trying to pat it while it's jumping up on me, you tell me to leave your pup alone. Stop being such a weirdo, you know. Because a lot of people don't understand it and don't know all this stuff, you know. And that's a big reason why a lot of people, why this whole dog training thing's so difficult, and why a lot of people that are really good at it, like an old shepherd or something, is just, try to ask them questions about dog training, and they're just like, mate, there's too much, because it's such a big subject, you know. And this is sort of what we're trying to tackle here. But so there's all of that stuff, guys. And there's some other stuff here. Another big question that people keep asking is digging. How do I stop digging? And I'll get to how to give a pup or dog freedom session soon, but I just want to lay the foundation for it first. Guys are talking about digging. How do I stop my dog digging? My dog's digging and I can't stop it. Honestly, all bullshit aside, you put it in a kennel. And there's no way, a really solid old school saying, and it's so true, is you can't stop a dog from doing something you don't want it to do if you're not there. You just can't. You can't stop a dog from doing something you don't want it to do if you're not there to deal with it. And that's why kenneling's so important. And the other thing is a lot of this stuff disappears over age, or at least gets a lot better to handle, a lot easier to handle with age. And it's the same with the pup. It's the same with, freedom and the way a pup or dog is prioritizing activities and lots of different things. And, the focus and relationship that builds too. That it's not just control, it's that level of a pup or dog's focus on you, just looking up to you, as in the sun shines out of your ass, you are that pup or dog's world, and it just, all it's thinking about is when are you going to turn up and tell it to sit. That's its highest priority thing, but the beauty about that is, and people are saying, oh, but this is mean, all you want to do is lock a dog up so you can tell it what to do. And yeah, that's one aspect of it, but that's a really, really important thing to realize here, and it's just huge, and we're trying to attack this or address it in the Palmico Dog Guide. So just general people that are training that just own a dog, that want a dog as a pet, can understand this too, is that all of this is actually about doing what's best for the dog in the long run, and trying to give the pup or dog the best life possible over time. Because what often happens is, if you give your pup or dog too much freedom early on, then they learn those bad habits, and it can be very difficult to give them freedom for the rest of their lives, because they learn those bad habits and now they're digging, or it had too much freedom as a pup and its priorities were all screwed up and it wasn't interested in listening to you, and now you can't take it hunting because it just chases deer and runs around. It's a pain in the ass. So you brought a pup for a hunting dog, and now you can't even take it hunting with you every time you want to go. Where if you keep it really controlled and structured, and it is difficult, it's like putting in the work, and yeah, the pup would rather be running around and stuff, but it's putting in the time and work and discipline and effort early on, so you can have a ton of freedom and do heaps of cool stuff later. And it's like doing it for a year, or it's barely even that. It's not even that. It's like, the pup's a pup for the first couple of months, so they don't need to do tons, and then it's really only 6 or 8 months through to the dog's about a year old, and then they're off the long line having massive freedom sessions, running around. You can leave them out a little bit more, and as they get older, it's that principle of freedom and responsibility. You get a pup or dog ready for freedom and responsibility before you give it to it, otherwise you're setting it up to fail. It's all about giving a pup or dog more freedom when you're following the Deer Dog Training Blueprint, and I've basically gone over all of the reasons why it's actually really, really important if you want a really well-trained, disciplined dog to not give it too much freedom over that first year. And I just spent 20 minutes explaining all of that stuff, all about how the way a dog prioritizes activities, and getting it focused on you, and loads of stuff. If you missed it, you'll have to go back. Sorry about that, but yeah, we had those technical difficulties, and it's all there anyway, or at least it will be. So I explained all of that, and I was just getting back around to the point that the question here is, how do I give my pup or dog more freedom? And the thing is, and this is the really, really, really big thing, is that the reason we keep things so controlled and structured over the first 12 months is so we can give our dog loads of fun and freedom for the rest of their lives. And I have worked, and I continue to work with lots and lots of dogs that enjoy very little fun and freedom for their whole lives because people tried to give them too much fun and freedom in that first 10 to 12 months. And I mean all the time. Like, it's one of the most common problems. Giving the dog freedom and responsibility before it's ready for it, and then the dog learns all of these bad habits, and then you can't have it in those situations. Then you really can't leave your dog out of its kennel in the backyard or it digs massive holes. Then you really can't take your dog to the beach or to the park or to big open spaces and let it off the leash around distractions and other dogs because it takes off. And then you really can't take your dog hunting because you took it hunting too early. It chased tons of stuff before you had your control, and now every time you take it hunting, it chases stuff and stuffs it all up. And there's I could go on forever on that. And, when I first started big game indicating dogs and doing one-on-one sessions, all of my one-on-one, basically all of them, I'm talking 95% was working with people who had older dogs, like most of them over 2 or 3 years old, a lot of them 5 or 6, 7 years old. And pretty much all of them were coming to me with dogs that they brought to use as a deer dog, and really quickly within the first 12 months they got to a point where their dog was at a point where they couldn't take it hunting because it was either gun shy, or it just chased the shit out of everything, or it was scared of stuff, or it had been just, the whole thing had gone completely wrong. And they were coming to me with a dog that they were like, man, how do I fix this dog so I can take it hunting again? And some people are actually really bloody upset about that. And they've got this dog, it's all they've ever wanted to do is hunt over this dog, and they love it. Or they want to get another dog, but they can't because now that dog's part of the family, and their kids like it, or their partner likes it, and they really want a dog, but they can only have one, and they need to fix that one. Or they want to, and we can't always do it. And it's a big deal. And it happens heaps. And that is why the deer dog training blueprint is the way it is. I made it so I made it as a way of people getting a dog and training it properly themselves right from the start. So when they arrive at a year old, it's all ready to go for the rest of its life. And it works. And I don't even really do one-on-one sessions anymore. No one calls me for them because it just works. And a massive, massive reason why it works, and why Print and Fly and soon to be Miko are barely ever locked up. Well, I can lock them up if I want to, but they can spend tons of time out in the section. I can take them to the beach and let them off the leash and hunt them anytime. And they've got a whole life like that with loads of fun and freedom and responsibility because I kept it so controlled and structured over that first year. And it's just a massive, massive deal. And that's why I wanted to explain all of this, which is now approaching 30 minutes before I even talked about how to give a pup or dog more fun and freedom in that first year. Because before I say, just do this or do that to give your pup or dog loads of freedom, that's the most important part, is that you understand all of that, because giving your pup or dog too much freedom early on can wind you up in a point where you can't give it fun and freedom for the whole rest of its life. So that, to me, that's the most important part to understand and begin with, and that's why the Deer Dog Training Blueprint is the way it is. And then from there, once you understand all that, and you're making good progress through your training, and you know you're safe, then you can give your pup or dog more freedom. But you have to be careful with it. And you know, all of this stuff is why we haven't added massive big bits about giving your pup or dog loads of freedom in the blueprint. And this is why this is why it is the way it is. Talking about that, just give me a second. Sorry about that. Miko was just having a little bark in the kennel there. We just spoke about that already in a recent QnA. In the last one, actually. I'm out of breath now because I just had to run outside. But yeah, so that's that. I just really wanted to cover that off. And then from there, I mean, most of it's in the blueprint, and we've talked about this, but so it's really important to separate training from fun and freedom, you know. And you know, like a lot of people have like a proper dog-proof area, like that's what we've had, and it can be really difficult if you don't have that. Like people have been asking about dogs digging and different things, and giving a pup or dog, how do I give it more freedom without teaching it bad habits? And it's really difficult. That's the thing, and that's why kenneling's so important. That's why we set a pup or dog up to be so happy and comfortable in a kennel from early on, and from there, you know, to give a pup more exercise or spend time with it, you can put it on a long line and just walk for longer, do more of that. You know, a training session on the long line can be quite relaxed and just keep walking. You don't want to hammer out loads and loads of stop drills or turns or range and different things like that. You don't want to keep repeating drills over and over and over, but you just space your drills out and just walk and just keep work on your range. Stop, give your pup a pat, give your dog a pat, spend time with it, just get it out and about and cruise around. And because that's good, because you're not messing up your pup or dog's priorities, which is what I talked about for most of the first 20 minutes. And the pup's getting more time out, more exercise, just going to be more relaxed. And that's one way of doing it, is just doing those longer, more drawn out, spaced out training sessions instead of just 1 or 2 10-minute sessions here and the rest of the time in the kennel. From there, another way is if you've got an area where you can put your pup or dog, like I had an area at my old place that was, we had like a dog-proof area inside our section that didn't have any gardens in it, didn't have anything that the pup or dog could chew up or get into. It was fully 100% dog-proof and safe. and I could put the dogs in there, but even then, I never put them in there for like 8 hours and like go away for the day. If I had to do that, I would prefer them to be in a kennel and run, and they can be in a kennel and run for up to 8 hours. It's ideal if you don't have to do that, like if you can get back, someone can swing by at lunchtime and let them out, or a lot of people can come home at lunchtime, or the partner can, or if it's a couple, one of them leaves early and comes back early, and one of them leaves later, so the dog can be out earlier in the morning, and then or until later in the morning, and then when the other one gets back, you can let it out earlier, if that makes sense, and things like that. Most people can work around it one way or another, where the pup or dog's getting little breaks, whether it's on the long line or it's sort of semi-supervised. But if you really have to, you can put a pup or dog in a kennel for 8 hours. You can do it, and that's far better, especially early on while it's young or while it's learning and you're developing its habits and patience and maturity and all of those things, because you're trying to develop a dog that can sit around relaxed almost all day without destroying anything. And if you start leaving them out too early when they're still young and into mischief and want to dig and do all that stuff, then that stuff becomes habit. You know, if you're constantly putting your pup or dog in a situation where it is digging or it is chewing or it is doing these things, then that's what becomes habit, and it's very difficult to stop that later on. But if a pup or dog's in a kennel, in a proper kennel and run, that it can't chew up or destroy, you know, like my kennel and run's a galvanizing hurricane with the timber floor in them, and that the timber, it's all set up so the dog can't get its teeth around anything that it can chew, you know. And they've got steel bowls in there. They get a bone every now and again to chew. Couple are supposed to get one at least once a week, but I'm probably a bit slack in doing that. They get a bone, you know. Miko got the occasional chew as a pup, but I'm not really that into always having stuff in my pup or dog's kennel to chew the whole time. Really, for me, that kennel or crate is time to just relax, just chill out. And so there's nothing, they can't chew in there, they can't dig holes in there, my dogs aren't allowed to bark in there. They're actually really, really good. Every now and again, and we spoke about it in the last Q&A, Miko will do a bit of a bark, and we've sort of been working on it. So that's what I just shot out to do just then. But that's time to just relax and see. Print and Fly will never bark in the kennel, and they'll just relax there. Miko's basically getting to the point now where she's the same. And what that's doing is, the longer I build and develop that, they're really getting to a point by the time, especially as they get older and older, you know, Fly's getting over 4 now, Print's approaching 2.5 or 3 or whatever it is. And then Miko will be there before you know it. You know, time, it's the thing with time, it doesn't bloody stop. And all of a sudden your dog's 2 or 3 years old. And then you get to a point where, you know, when I'm home, my dogs are just out of the kennel, just chilling in the section. And sometimes they'll do that for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours while I'm just around. I can poke my head out every now and again and keep an eye on them. Every now and again, they'll try to look out there and one of them scratching a little hole or doing something. I say, get out of it, you know, and give them a rack up and tell them not to do it. And they slowly get better and better. But they'll get to the point where I can leave them out and they won't dig a hole. And who knows? I know some people do leave their older dogs out in the section when they go away for the day, and they do it over and over, and it's fine. As long as it's a 100% dog-proof section, that's okay. I mean, really, really 100% dog-proof. To be honest, I'm not really into that, just because my dogs are so important to me. It's my job, and I put so much work into them, and it's part of my business and all of that. So my good friends know how like absurdly careful I am with my dogs. Like I'm here in town. I'm down a long driveway. I've got a dog-proof section. I've got cameras up around my house. I've got the gate closed with security camera signs on it and everything. Everything's closed up, and my dogs are in the kennel right around the back with a live stream camera on them the whole time. And even quite often when I leave, I'll be going out for a few hours or something, and if I'm going to a friend's or somewhere, and I'm just like, nah, screw it, I'm going to take my dogs with me. And they go in the back of the truck in the dog box, and they come with me, and I give them a quick run when I get to my mates, and they're just in the back. Like, that's how careful I am about it for loads of reasons, like security, safety. I know people that have left their dog at home in a dog-proof section, and they've come back and the dog's dead in the driveway because somehow it dug under, or someone turned up and left the gate open, or they don't even know. I know people whose dogs have been run over because all they can think is someone either opened the gate and it got out and then the person closed the gate, or the dog somehow, for whatever crazy reason, managed to scale a 6-foot fence that day and get out on the road and get run over. But my dogs can't get out of that hurricane mesh in a proper kennel and run, And that's why, look at farmers, people that have had a lot of dogs for a long time, and their dogs are really, really important to them, and they've seen everything that can go wrong, and they put a lot of work into their dogs. Man, they have pretty much all of them have really good kennel setups, and so there's all these things, and and that's, again, this is why the blueprint is the way it is. This is why there isn't all this, just let your dog do this and do that and run it, because I know where it'll end up. And I really did do with print what you see in the blueprint. Like, that's it. And I do it all for a really good reason. And I know the potential for like people to end up with dogs that are no good, or dogs that get run over and die, and all of this stuff to happen. And again, for the 100th time, that's why it is the way it is. And as we said in part 1, in that little update we did, you can have a dog-proof area and leave a pup or dog in that for 20 or 30 minutes, sort of half keeping an eye on it, If it's a dog-proof area, if nothing it can chew or dig or anything like that, and just give that pup or dog that time to just be on its own. And it's really important when you do that if that pup or dog, we talk about every time you give a dog a command that it has the opportunity to not listen to. For example, you tell a pup to sit while it's not on the long line, and it doesn't sit, and then when you try to push its bum down, it tries to move away, and you haven't got the long line to stand on, and it turns into a bit of a scramble. Or you give your recall command and it looks at you and goes, "No, I'm not going to listen," and you haven't got the long line to back it up. You're literally training your dog, teaching it that it doesn't have to listen to you. And is there any questions there, Henry?
No, not yet.
Okay. Every time you give a pup or dog a command that it doesn't listen to, you're training it, that you're teaching it that it doesn't have to listen to you. So that's, if you are going to set it up, or you are going to give your pup or dog freedom sessions, it's really important that it's in a really safe spot, that the pup or dog can't get out and get into any, get towards a road or get into any mischief, that you're kind of keeping an eye on it and making sure that it's not just that you just turn your back and leave, and within 10 minutes later it's digging a hole and you leave it there for 2 hours and you come back and there's just this massive tunnel halfway to China, and you're just teaching your pup or dog to dig holes every time it's out of the kennel and left alone. And there's nothing it can chew and nothing it can destroy, so you're not teaching any of those bad habits. Then you just put it in there and walk away. You don't want to be halfway in between, sort of take it somewhere and it's getting a bit of freedom and there's a bit of a distraction around, and then you want to leave and you have to leave early, so you try to call the pup or dog while something's happening and then it doesn't listen. Straight away you're on a bit of a slippery slope and you're teaching your pup or dog that it doesn't have to listen. And all of these things really are, when people say, man, Print's so good in the blueprint, how he's so good, what's going on? I literally never called him to me until I knew 100% and he didn't even know how to not listen, without having that long line in my hand and ready to get him to come with the long line. 100% every single time, setting him up to get it right, can't get it wrong, just impossible.
We have a question from your earlier post.
So, okay. Yeah. So all of that stuff, guys, is super, super important. And again, we basically went over in the update. You can put your pup or dog in a super safe area. Don't give it any commands. Just walk away. Keep a bit of an eye on it. Make sure it's not getting into any crazy trouble or learning any bad habits. And that's about it. And you can do that for half an hour, a couple of times a day if you've got the setup. But it's so important and to not do too much. We're going into sort of fun and freedom a bit more in the Palmico dog guide, but then the Palmico dog guide is just about someone having a good pet. It's in the blueprint is about having a really, really, really good deer dog. Like, it's about doing everything you can to do it as good as possible. And there is a little bit of room for movement there. If you're like, okay, well, Print looks really, really good, I want a dog that's going to be pretty good, and I want to give it a little bit more freedom or do that, and I'm willing to take that risk of having it be not quite as good, or I want to prioritize my pup or dog having a little bit more fun and freedom over it being as that good, or you're not in a massive rush and you're willing to give it more time or something like that. Any of those things. And everyone's open to make their own decisions and change it a little bit, and most people do. Most people do change it a little bit. And yeah, that's pretty much that. I think we're approaching an hour here, but if you include the other 20 minutes, but yeah. And we've talked about this subject a lot too, but it's good getting it back here again in good quality and all in one place, and we can refer people to it and stuff. So that's that, guys. I'm going to move on from there for now. Gwen Douglas, is that the end though? Surely you can stop chasing. I don't know what that means. Christian Takao, my dog circles back to me instead of waiting for me to catch up. Okay. Yep. I know what you mean. So you're walking along, working on range, and your dog realizes she's too far in front, and instead of just waiting, she sort of panics and comes shooting back, and it's real annoying because it's like this annoying backwards and forwards stop-start thing. Real easy fix to that, man. and it's quite common too. But it's just step out to her. So if she's, say, 5-6 meters away, and again, it's just pressure on what you don't want, and stepping into a dog's space is putting pressure on it. So as soon as she turns back, good timing, hit it with the command of disapproval. The second she turns back, and step out to her. And then she'll straight away feel that pressure and wait, and then just give her your go command. And then she'll cruise off again. And the second she goes to just put pressure on it. I hope that makes sense. You can throw it in the comments if that does. But and really, I can't open the rest of that comment. See if you can get that, man. Really step out to her as she comes back, like step forward. Again, commanded disapproval, stepping into the dog's space, body language, and the second she turns back, because I know what you mean. They're cruising along. You just want them to pause and let you catch up, and then gently cruise on again. So it's just really marking it, man. Right as soon as she turns around, commanded disapproval, step out to meet her and cut her off. And she should it's usually a really easy fix. Yep, sweet, I can see your comment, mate. I'll do that. Thanks, I'll do that from now on. What was that other comment, Henry? You said we had a question from an earlier post.
Yep, for your... We'll bring that up.
I think I've got it here, actually. Yep.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. What does Gwen do about playtime? Oh, Gwen Douglas, what do I do about playtime, daily routine? Yep. And then her next comment is, typical, this is the video I just opened now, and it's actually the video in the Deer Dog Training Blueprints called Freedom and Exercise Outside of Training. And it's in the blueprint, and we kind of explain it all. But again, the idea of these Q&As is to come at it all again from a whole different angle, a whole different time, and just go more into depth and explain it over and over. And also is to actually cue people and direct them to the blueprint and say it's there, guys, and there's just so much in there, and that it's easy to miss stuff, and you can go over and watch it all, and then 3 weeks later think, it's like my dog needs more fun and freedom, and the first time you were watching it, you were kind of looking for one thing and you found it, and then went and did it, and then and then you start working with your dog, and over a few weeks you find something else that you need to work out, and you're like, I don't think that was in there. Or we'll ask it in a Q&A when it's literally everything I do is in there, and I've had conversations with guys in their 50s that have worked with dogs all their life, that have owned the blueprint for years and watched it several times, and they still re-watch it and find new things. There's a lot in there. There really is. Here's a really good one. Submissive dog from Taryn Shana Haylock. Submissive dogs. Okay. So, Taryn, I hope I'm saying your name right there. Submissive dog. Our 4-month-old heading pup is so scared of, everything. Had taken ages to get him calm around new things in the yard. He won't walk through a gate. Pees when we pick him up. Yelp barking at anything at random times during the night inside his kennel with some whining. We have guys putting fibre in the street, and it really works him up with the sound. Guy Fawkes was not a fun week. Any advice on getting the pup more confident, please? Going on to part 2 next week. His sit and come is going good. Okay, yep. I definitely watch a bit. If you're going on to part 2 next week, it'd be great if it's possible for you to watch a bit further ahead, because you might start picking up some stuff anyway. But Submissive dogs. This is something I'm quite if I specialize in working with, I can work with all types of dogs except super hyper aggressive dogs. If a dog's like super like has killed other dogs or just tries to attack people or something like real next level, I'm just like, no, that's not even, you're talking to the wrong guy. I'll deal with sort of mild to medium dog on dog aggression, and I've done that a lot, but hyper aggressive dogs and stuff like that, no, it's not my deal. But dogs that are scared of stuff, very submissive dogs, and that I tend to go all right with. And if anything, I prefer to work with a dog like that than a dog that's super forward and overconfident and all that sort of thing, especially for a deer dog. And we go over all that in the blueprint like that. I picked that quiet dog that stands back. And Fly, who is a really good dog, and a lot of you will know her, and she's got a great personality, really nice, confident with loads of stuff, overconfident at times now. But when I got her, she was a rescue dog, and this has been in lots of other videos too, but we'll cover it all again here for people who don't know the story. Fly, my main dog, who I wrote articles about in magazines, and who she was actually, after working with a lot of different dogs and developing basically everything that's in the Deer Dog Blueprint, Fly was one of the first dogs that I did a lot of the stuff all properly in the right order to almost to the extent that of everything that we've done in the Deer Dog Training Blueprint. Nowhere near to the extent, but she's the first dog that I did a lot of that stuff with. And she turned out really good and come on real quick. And I sort of proved a lot of stuff to myself with her on how good a lot of stuff that I've been working on for years actually worked. And I sort of put a lot of it all together with her for the first time. And when I picked her up, she was a rescue dog. A woman, Carrie King, who runs Tokoroa Animal Rescue, rescues a lot of dogs. And she rescues a lot of dogs that have no other options. And I don't know if at the time anyway, she may still be doing it, but sometimes the SPCA in Tokoroa would contact her and say, hey, we've got these dogs, we've really got no other option for them. You know, we're stuck, or we can't find a home, or they've got these problems and we're going to put them down. Do you want to come and look at them and see if you can perhaps find them a home? And she saved a huge amount of dogs like that. And they rung her up to go look at these dogs, and she did, and she got them and they were good. But there was another one sitting there next to them in a cage, and it was Fly. And she said, what's up with that one? And she was just sort of groveling in the corner, and they said, nah, she's stuffed. She's getting put down tomorrow. She's stuffed, you know. Carrie said, I'll take her. And that was Fly. And when I went to look at Fly, she was about 5 or 6 months old, but that's only our best guess because she was just a stray picked up. And she was just quivering when you were standing in front of, it was a run with a box in the back. She was quivering in the back of the box while their brothers and sisters were jumping up at the front, and just petrified of everything. And when you sort of went in there, and when I went in there to pull her out, her tail, like every now and again, she was shaking, and you'd say, good girl, and the tip of her tail would just like wag like twice. Just the last 2 inches of her tail would just do 2 little taps. You could just see the slightest hint of her wanting to be okay. And I really liked her, and I took her. And she was like, if you opened a door, she'd just fly the other way and hit the end of the long line. Or she was just absolutely petrified of everything, like real bad. And really scared of people too. And I just used the long line. So I, again, set her up. There was no way she could fail. I had her on the long line and I had it in my hand the whole time. And I put the long line on her before I let her out of the kennel. But a really important thing here with shy dogs, Taryn, I don't know if she's on now or not. Just throw a comment if you're there listening to this now, Taryn.
Taryn is here.
She is?
Yep,
Yeah. Oh, and I'm saying your name right. That's good. So fly, here's the biggest thing. And you can maybe throw straight away in the comments whether this rings a bell with you or not. The exact same principle still applies with the dog that's scared of stuff. You put pressure on what you don't want. First, you set it up so it can, hang on. I'll start where I was starting. You put pressure on what you don't want, and you put praise on what you do want. And the thing is you don't want your dog to be scared of stuff, so you actually put pressure on it. And if you try to coddle your dog and you try to make it feel better while it's scared, almost without exception, every time the dog will take that as you praising it for being scared. So if the dog freaks out about something, for example, if I opened a car door and when Fly was a pup and she shot to the end of the long line freaking out, literally pissing, she would do that. She'd piss when you reach down. You could say, "Good girl, Fly," and gently put your hands under her, and she'd piss while you're picking her up. Only for the first couple of days. It stopped real quick. But just to explain how bad she actually was. If she did that, if she shot to the end of the long line pissing, I'd go, "Cut it out," and check her and jerk her back towards me. Because that's putting pressure on what you don't want. And then I'll go, "Cut it out," and yank her back in and pull her into me with the long line and try to release the pressure on the long line without her moving away. And if she tries to move away again, pull her back. But very, very important to get that pressure off the long line, even just a little bit. And then as soon as I can see her, because I've just put pressure on her and checked her and said, "No, I don't want you to move away. That's not what you're meant to do in this situation." And then as soon as I can see her even trying for a second to stay there while I let the pressure off the long line, then I roll on the praise. "Good girl, good girl." And all of a sudden she starts relaxing. And then something might move or bang or knock over and she darts away again. "Ah, come here." Pull her back in. Yank her back in. Let the pressure off. Give her a chance to stay there on her own accord, and then praise that. And she'll do what I was talking about in the Palmico Q&A today, which is actually already all up on the Paul Michael's Revolution podcast and Palmico Dog Training Facebook and YouTube. You can actually see them realizing that they don't have to do what they're doing. You're using correct timing and everything, and you're putting pressure on what you don't want, praise on what you do want. You're telling them, "No, I don't want you to do that, and you don't have to do that." And what the praise is doing when they begin to do the right thing is you're telling them that this is what you're meant to do. And they you see them realize it. And you'll see them start to relax and go from being all tight with their mouth closed, quivering, to, and you'll see them take big breaths, and your dog will do a big dog yawn, massive big yawn. And that's them going, "Oh, Jesus, do I not have to do that?" Because the other way is when the dog freaks out and darts away, people go, "It's all right, good girl, it's all right." good girl, be scared, be scared. When you try to say, even just that tone, they can't, you're saying, it's okay, it's okay. They can't understand English. All they're hearing is tone and reading your body language and all of that. And a lot of people say, good girl, trying to reassure a dog when it's being scared. But that is exactly the same as patting a dog for sitting properly. You're literally praising what you don't want. So, and this is a huge one, really clear-cut, huge example of what you do for a human versus what you have to do with a dog. A person, you say, it's all right. When your mate's freaking out over something, you go, dude, it's sweet. It's all right, man. Just don't worry about it. It's the exact opposite for the dog. You yell at it. You don't yell at your mate when he's freaking out. But you yell at your dog because it's a dog. It's not a person. And they view the world completely differently. And this is one example. And it's a really good example of how easy it is you've got all the best intentions in the world, and usually the people with the best intentions trying the hardest are the ones that get it the most wrong. And it's hugely common for dogs and like lovely people that are just really want the best for their dog, and they're trying really hard, and their dog just turns into an absolute nervous wreck because they're trying to make it feel better, but the dog's taking it as praise for being scared, and you're training your dog to be scared. So that's a hugely common one. And I'm not saying that Taryn's doing that, but I wanted to explain that for everyone because it's a really good and important topic. And maybe Taryn can let me know. Does that ring a bell, Taryn? Or is that what you're doing perfectly and it's still happening? And that's just what I did with Fly, and it just works so well. And that's why I love principles so much. It comes back to that principle of pressure on what you don't want, praise on what you do want. And that still counts for, you don't want your dog to be scared around those things. So you put pressure on it and you do everything that you can to get it into a situation or to get it to deal with that situation properly, and then you praise that. And that's where things like long lines come in. So you can physically stop a dog from running away and pull it back in and give it a pat. And Carrie King told me this, and I already knew all this stuff, but she gave me like one really important, yes, Taryn said, it's only been a month, but I've been worried about too much pressure. Yeah, awesome. Just reinforcing what we've been doing. I don't know why I can't open. Can you see more on that comment of hers?
Yep, okay.
Oh, the neighbours just started up as Harley. It's real loud right there. She's been Joe. Oh yeah, awesome. Just reinforcing what we have been doing so far, just wanting to make sure we're on track. Yep, sweet. That's definitely, and it's very, very counterintuitive, when especially because Fly was this cutest little pup and just completely petrified of everything. And then she's scared of something and freaking out, and you've got to yell at her. So it's very, very counterintuitive, and it feels very weird. You know, especially if you're just learning that principle or idea. And again, it comes back to that the golden rule with pressure and praise. It's always, so it's to explain the principle of pressure and praise. Pressure on what you don't want, praise on what you do want. And the timing and measure of that pressure and praise is very, very important. So very good timing. You want to like hit it right on the button. The second the dog moves, 3 seconds later, you've lost a lot of effect. You still want to do it 3 seconds later. You don't want to just let it slide. But if you can hit it right on the mark, with timing wise, very, very important. And the better you can time it, the better it'll work. And then as far as measure goes, golden rule with measure is always the lowest amount of pressure and praise required to get the job done. And sometimes that's, especially with a very quiet, meek little pup like Fly, and generally the dogs that have these phobias and things, it's not like a cut it out and dragging the dog. It's just the second she goes and moves, just a tiny So she hears that, so her focus is off being scared of the thing and moving away from it, and it's just that little that snaps her focus back on you. A little check on the long line. Hopefully you can step towards the dog and release pressure off the long line without it continuing to move away, and just give it a good girl. Give it a little pat. And again, you're not going, good girl, going crazy with crazy praise. And praise is the same. It's always the minimum amount of pressure and praise. It's always the minimum amount of praise to let the dog know that it's doing the right thing. Because you don't want to give too much pressure because it's excessive and it can break down the bond and relationship with your dog. And the other thing that too much pressure and praise can do is it can be so overbearing and overwhelming that you completely take all the dog's focus of whatever it was just learning. William Kohler talks about this. William Kohler's an incredible dog trainer, and someone that understands dog psychology really, really well. He's got lots of old books, and some of his older training methods probably wouldn't do too well today because some of them were quite harsh, but he understood dog psychology really, really well. And he talked about washing away what a dog has just learnt with too much praise. So you're just teaching a pup to sit, and it sort of sits, and you could have just gone, good dog, nice calm pat, and it would have remembered what just happened and known it was a good thing and just leave it at that. But people get a dog to sit and good dog and go crazy, and it hypes the dog up so much that it forgot what you were just doing. So you're not teaching anything. It was just starting to learn. You blew it all to bits with all this crazy praise. You can do that with pressure too. Oh gosh, that Harley would make our pup go nuts. Yeah, I used to ride dirt bikes, and I can appreciate the hell out of a Harley or a V8 or a nice car or something, but I've got to tell you, real loud bikes and cars these days, I'm just like, yeah, all right, all right. I'm not that into them, to be honest. Chris Borland, how's it going, mate? Long time no see. Nathan Senior's here. Portia. Am I saying your name right? You asked a question earlier about your partner's going away. Your partner's been doing all the training, and you're wondering if you should do the training while your partner goes away. I think as long as you're both doing the same thing, it'd be fantastic if you could do the training while your partner's away, and it's only ever a positive. We've got a massive QnA phone call video on Facebook, and I think it's on YouTube too, on Big Game Indicating Dogs, about couples training. It's quite a common question, because people see in the blueprint, I'm doing all the training myself, and which is good. But if you're a family, and we've talked about this at length in a lot of other Q&As too, and that's why we're getting all this stuff up on the podcast now, because it's quite difficult for people to find the time to actually lock in and watch 2-hour Facebook videos. But hopefully you can start listening to them on your way to work or while you're doing other stuff, and really start ripping through this content, you know. It's great if 2 people can train the dog. If there's 2 people in the household, or more than 2, if you can get kids on board doing the basics, and even if you're not doing, this topic comes up quite a bit, and even if you're not doing absolutely everything, actually, when we spoke about this in the last Q&A we did too, Jonathan Griff, the bearded bushman, was saying that his partner's right on, and his dog's going really, really good. You know, people are like, man, you got lucky. You got to, and he's like, oh, I don't know if it's all about luck or actually putting a hell of a lot into it. And my partner's on board, and kids are on board, and everything's bang on. But by all means, it's all a positive. As long as you're doing the right stuff, it's really good if you can get on board. And like I was beginning to say, you don't have to be doing all the skin drags and stop to the shot training and all of the super elaborate stuff. But if you can just understand and know how to use a long line properly, and you know how the stop drill works roughly, and you know how to do change of direction a little bit later on, you're not there yet with your pup, but just the basic principles, and instead of the pup just either having a week in the kennel and going crazy, or having a week just being let off and running riot, you can maybe give it some freedom sessions following the guidelines in the blueprint, and the guidelines that we've talked about in a lot of free videos as well, of just separating it and not giving the pup or dog commands that it might not listen to, but putting it on the long line and going for a walk and making that the fun, and that's the engagement with the pup or dog, and that's the thing that the dog, cheers Chris, legend mate, and that's the engagement, that's what the dog looks forward to. That should be the pup or dog's most fun thing, is someone coming out, letting it out of the kennel, putting a long line on it, and going and walking in the paddock or the park or the beach or wherever, doing a couple of stop drills. Because when a stop drill's not like sit down, a stop drill's sit, and the dog sits, and you give it a pat, and you let it go, and you release it again. You know, you're not, there's training and discipline. It should be fun. Well, it is if you do it all right. And that's the whole idea of the whole thing, and the long line and everything, is you've got all the tools, and you don't have to yell at the pup, because you just say sit, and you stand on the long line. So the long line's stopping it. You're not screaming at the dog. It can't walk anymore. So you only have to say it once, sit. And you go over and push its bum down and say sit. As you push its bum down, give it a pat, good dog. If it goes to get up, and then it relaxes again, good dog. Step back, wait 2 seconds, step back in, give it a pat, good dog, and release it. You know, that's training. It's all positive. And a pup that's been sitting in the kennel will look forward to it, because that's better. That's more fun than being in the kennel. And then you get to walk, and you're out and about, and dogs just like walking. Like, that's the coolest thing about a dog, is they're just so stoked. They're so in the moment. They don't complain. They're just like, if you're doing stuff roughly right with them, they're just so happy to be doing what they're doing, no matter what it is. If you know what I mean, it's anyway, I'm sort of bloody waffling on here. Chris Morris, she'll be hunting over Doug as well. Great to know we can both train. Yeah, man, you can definitely, and that's the best thing. That's another really good thing about the blueprint, is couples can watch it together. Jamie made it. Sweet. And sweet. and we're stoked the audio is much better. That's one really good thing about the blueprint, and it does work really well for a lot of couples and families and people, is you can both watch it together or separately or however it's going to work, but you can both do the same stuff, you know, and we've got people like, I can't remember who they are, and it's awesome, by the way, but we're getting so many messages and stuff late now of people following the blueprint, and hey mate, here's my dog and it's going well and we're doing this and we're doing it like that. And there's a couple of guys, I haven't heard from them for a while, but they're training 2 pups together. I think they're brothers or mates or something, and it's sort of all happening in the same household with 2 guys and 2 dogs. And he was saying we're doing all the same stuff and both dogs listen to both of us, and it's just mint. Someone goes away, they can train both dogs and they listen to everyone, and it's easy for the dog because the dog's on the right track and all of that. So by all means, that's all a positive. It's not like, no, one person has to do it, you know. It's actually can be really, really good if multiple people do it. What else have we got here? That Harley, yep. Have you, I don't know why I can't open these comments.
Yep, I can pass you my phone.
Cheers,
I can
mate.
open all of those.
Cheers. Have a bit of a scroll here. Just reading comments here, guys. Joe McDonald. My dog at 5.5 months old has taken to get sick of our near daily walks in the bush after about an hour under strict range control. She has been corrected on going a bit far in front. When I turn and walk the other way, she has started to go on a charging rampage back and forward for a while, then comes right. Is this just a maturity thing, or does there need to be some correction? She is being corrected on going a bit far in front when I turn and walk the other way. She's been corrected on going a bit far in front. When I turn and walk the other way, she has started to go on a charging rampage back and forth for a while. So, Joe, if you're still watching, mate, is she... Yeah, it's one or two things, a bit of a combination of strict range control. Yeah, so when you're doing a change of direction to control range, we use change of direction to train range a lot because it works really, really well. When you turn and walk the other way, she started to go on a charging rampage back and forth for a while. Just put pressure on it, man. As soon as she does it, just cut it out. Give her a bit of a check. Cut it out and get her walking again. And then and a real big one there is, again, always giving the dog, letting it know what not to do. But it's very, very important, and quite often this is actually the cause of that type of thing, is the positives. This really important too. If you just continually, and you say about an hour under strict range control, and an hour is a long time, man, for a 5.5-month-old pup to be under strict range control. And you've got to make sure, and strict range control isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you have to make sure that you're letting the dog know when it's doing the right thing as well. And that's very, very important. And we talk about that in the blueprint and show it, that it's all very well to check the pup or dog when it goes a little bit too far in front. but are you catching it out while it is walking nicely, even just for 3 or 4 seconds? It's just this, every time you can get the chance, especially when you're starting to run into problems like this, when you get that chance, and because it's, and we all do it, we're busy, you're thinking about other stuff, and the only time you really notice is when your dog does something wrong and you keep correcting it. Stop doing that wrong, cut it out, stop doing that. And you and you don't really do much when it does it right. And it's always 50-50. You can't do it with just pressure, you can't do it with just praise. It's always about both. And it's really, really important. And that's what happens if you're too strict and you're not just stopping for a moment here and there. And I just stop, and the dog will just be walking along in front, good as gold, doing everything right, and we could just keep walking. But I'll just stop and kneel down, and they'll come trotting back, and I'll just give them a pat for no reason. Sometimes I'll pick them up, give them a big pat, just a big bond, put them back down and keep walking. Really, really important. And even I like to be able to do it without the dog coming back to me too, and we actually show you that we cover this specific subject in the blueprint. Can't remember exactly what part it is. It's somewhere around 4 or 5 or 6 or somewhere around there, about really catching your pup or dog out while it's just walking slow, cruisy in front, and just trying to pat it on the bum. So with its, we call it a dog giving you its back. So it's close to you with its back to you, looking away, and it's super confident with you right behind it and being close to you, and it's just relaxed, and you give it a pat, and just, you've got to let the dog know that that's what you want it to do. And if you get into a bit of a pattern or a cycle of just correcting the bad stuff and not really making sure that the dog knows, you've always got to tell the dog what you don't want it to do. But it's really, really important that every time you do that, that's got to come with showing the dog what you want it to do. If it's, you need to give it that positive alternative, and that's really important. Otherwise, you're just correcting the dog, saying don't do that, but you're not. You need to say don't do that, do this. And it's really important, because if you don't do that, if you're not giving it that positive alternative and getting it to a point where you can praise it and build that relationship and bond, shit starts to break down and fall apart, and they start to rebel, and that's when they're darting backwards and forwards. And I've even seen guys' dogs start to jump up at them and nip at them, and they're challenging them, and it just all turns to shit. So I don't know. He's saying, yes, she's getting positive reinforcement. Okay. Man, it's just, so it's one of those things, making sure you get it right, trying to keep, and sometimes it's a balance, man, and sometimes it is difficult, and sometimes it is a phase and maturity thing, and sometimes it takes a lot of patience and discipline too, and it depends on the dog. Jamie, the spray bottle is a winner, by the way. Sweet, we'll get to that. So there's a few things here, Joe. There's putting pressure on what you don't want, really good timing. Making sure you're balancing that with the same amount of praise. If you're too sharp and good with correcting what you don't want, and you're not fast and good enough with praising the positive, you can be a little bit out of balance, and you can cause problems for yourself. If you're expecting too much too soon, you can cause problems for yourself too. And sometimes you just need to relax and give it a bit of time. And that sort of thing is really, it's just a combination. It's either one of those three things or a combination of all three, or maybe one or two other things. But I'd almost guarantee 99% sure it'll be one of those things. So does that make sense, man? Just throw a comment in there. So Jamie, the spray bottle works. So Jamie, and it's actually quite a similar thing. Similar, but just to me, actually sounds, I think the real cause of it's different. But Jamie was having a deal where Digby, the GSP, was biting and jumping and just being a little bugger, really. And she was correcting him with the long line and growling at him, and he just wasn't taking her too seriously. And he's bloody young, by the way. How old is he now, Jamie? Just throw it in the comments. Can you try to refresh the comments on there, mate? And because we were talking about kenneling and fixing barking in the kennel, and I mentioned water and a little squirt with the hose, and a guy on YouTube said even just throw a cup of water at them in the kennel when they bark, and he's dead right. It works bloody well. You don't have to yell at the dog, you don't have to bang on the kennel, you just flick a bit of water at them, and they really don't like it. Also, Jamie's saying he's 14 and a half weeks old, so he's still bloody young, but time is flying. And yeah, old Digby, he's wait, no, hold up. He's 3 months. So he's 12 weeks. He's a male GSP. They've usually got it plenty of go. And they're just going to challenge the shit out of you, and sort of see what you're made of. And like, guys, with all of this stuff, it's often not easy, and yeah, you do have to keep the pup in the kennel heaps, and yeah, you will change direction and the dog will get pissed off, and it won't always happen straight away and as fast as you, and it's just repeat, just stay calm and just repeat the trust in the process and just keep repeating it, stay calm, repeat the right thing over and over, just keep going back to the principles and let the dog come on in its own time. That's a really important part here. I had it with Print. Man, with his stop command, and every time I said sit, this is around part 3 or 4, every time I said sit, he'd stop. So, if you watch the blueprint, how we train our stop. The dog's dragging a long line, and we say sit while we're walking. We say sit and stand on the long line. That's around the dog's neck. So the dog hears sit. A second later, you stand on the long line. So every time that dog hears the word sit, half a second later, the long line stops. And you only do it 3 times. And the 3rd or 4th time you say sit, the dog knows it's about to get stopped by the long line, and it beats the long line. Now you got a dog, you say sit, and it just stops. That's the beginning of it. Print got that bit really, really quick. Now, you don't have to train a sitting stop. There's loads of different ways of doing it. And some a lot of really good systems, it's not a sitting stop, it's a standing stop. But for a variety of reasons, I do a sitting stop in the blueprint. And it's something I think about a lot, and I've thought about it and still think about it. I'm like, no, I still like the sitting stop. So that's what we do. But I'd be buggered if Print would sit. I'd say sit, stand on the long line, and he'd turn around and look at me with his ass sort of half dipped down, knowing he's supposed to sit, and he just wouldn't sit. And I did it every day for weeks. And I knew it's just a time thing. If I get pissed off and start yelling at him and slamming his bum down or anything, it's just a waste of freaking time. And I just followed, just repeat. Sit, and he'd stop, look back at me, and I'd just step in, gently push his bum down. As soon as his bum went down, good boy. And I stepped back and I just repeated it over and over and over. And it drove me up the frickin' wall. But I just stayed calm and kept doing it. And one day I said, sit. He didn't even look back. The second I said sit, his bum just dropped straight down. And I went, what the... I was almost flabbergasted. And I stepped in and gave him a pat, and I stepped back, did the whole stop drill, released him. And then we walked for a few minutes, and I said sit, and his bum just dropped straight down. And he just, there was him. And it just took weeks. So that's another thing with all, it's a really important part with all this stuff is just stay calm and just repeat it and we start a lot of stuff early in the blueprint. We really do. But then that's why we do it all so bloody calm, you know, and like in that first month, we're not even really going for compliance. We're just linking actions with commands, no compliance, linking actions with commands. And I say that, and I say it about 2 or 3 times in the part 1. I can't stress, guys, how important it is that it's super early days and we're just linking actions with commands. And I regularly get questions about, oh, my pup won't sit or won't do something. And I'll say, how old is it? And they're like, well, I've had it 10 days. And it's like, well, it's not even meant to be. But so that's just a few more points on that. But going back to this water thing and Digby, we were talking about using water in the kennel, and Jamie was at the same time, she was sort of asking me the occasional question, oh, you know, Digby's doing this whole jumping up, biting, annoying bloody thing. Actually, Jamie, really good one for you will be the Palmico Q&A that we did this morning. I can't remember. I don't think you were there, but it's up on the podcast, Paul Michael's Revolution, and Palmico Dog Training Facebook and YouTube, free for everyone to listen. Quite a good Q&A. And we did it at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Yeah. That'll be there's some real good points in there on that, and there's some real good points in the new videos that we've posted in the Palmico Dog Guide too. Just throw in the comments if you've watched all that stuff or not. But so Jamie was having these issues, and she said, you know how we're talking about water for in the kennel? What do you reckon about trying the water bottle for when Digby's been a little bugger? And so she's just walking on the long line. He can be good as gold for up to 10 minutes. And then it all sort of turns to shit. And he's trying to bite his shoes and just challenge the hell out of her, and just generally being a 3-month-old GSP pup, really, that she's trying to train with the blueprint and keep it all super controlled and structured and all that sort of stuff. And it's hard, guys. It's not a walk in the park by any means. It is and it isn't. It's not really that hard, but it's not just a complete given. That it takes a lot of patience and discipline and thought. It's all it is, really. It's actually quite simple and easy. There's a lot of very simple steps and principles all put together in a specific order. And that's sort of what the blueprint's for, you know, just, you really can just go back over and over and over and put it all together. But, so her pup was doing that, and she said, what about the water bottle for that? You know, just take a bloody squeezy pump bottle out and give him a squirt when he does it, instead of the command of disapproval and checking on the long line and all of that. Jamie says she was working today. Taryn, I'll get to your thing about the water not working. It's all up anyway, Jamie. You'll be able to listen to it after. And she says instead of checking him on the long line when he racks up, she's been water bottle giving him a little squirt, and by all means, I got nothing against that. It's coming from you. It's not a collar. One thing is that he'll know it's the bottle, and when you haven't got it, so I would still only look at it as just a something to sort of switch the momentum and just turn a bit of a corner and try to get rid of it as fast as you can. And I'd really encourage you to try and do it as much as you can, just with reading and timing all on your own, because that's what's going to give you that real result that you really got without any of this other stuff. But there's a lot of good stuff in that video we done today. Jamie, have you watched the new videos in the Palmico Dog Guide? There's 5 new ones went up this week. Some real calm handling, 20-minute video that just hammers out this whole subject of reading and timing and pressure and praise and tons of stuff. Yeah, that's good, linking it to Jamie's just saying if she uses the water, she links it to and all of that. Yep. But the other thing about GSPs, they're bloody real smart, and they pick up on stuff real good, and she hides it in her pocket so he can't see it. You're a clever little one, aren't you? Can you see that whole Taryn's you need more hours in the day? I get you. I know what you're saying there, mate, for sure. Taryn, water is not working with us. Hose makes him worse. Strider gets into a state of barking at nothing. That yelp kind of bark, and we would spray the bottle from the hose. Strider got worse, barking more aggressive and wanting to bite the water. Where are you based, mate? Sounds interesting. Where are you based, Taryn? It says, I can't even read where it says on your Facebook. Just keep in mind that this audio is going public, so not that I'm going to say your address or anything crazy, so, and everything you're writing is in a circle. I mean, what country or rough area, because, yeah, if you were in the North Island, I would say it could even be something for the Palmico Dog Guide or something like that we might want to work with. Water is not working. Hose makes him worse. Strider gets into a state of barking at nothing. That yelp kind of bark. And they'd spray the water from the hose. He got worse. Barking more aggressive. That sounds a little bit more than just an audit, it sounds like you've got quite a bit going on there. Is your pup, Taryn, pup or dog, just wondering how old, 5.5 months old. Oh man, we're getting we've got a lot going on here, guys. Yeah, Taryn, I'm just wondering how old that dog is, how long you've had it, what its history is, and all of that sort of stuff. Like, I'm just trying to work, because that's type of thing that you're talking about. There's quite a bit going on there. Yeah. Todd. Hi, Paul. I spent a morning working with a fantastic stockman running 5 dogs, riding a good horse on steep country. There was plenty to learn for me with a 4-month-old GSP bitch trainee deer dog. He said he would walk over broken glass with his dogs to correct a dog coming off a stop. Yep. Like stop the draft, 500 sheep, put that dog back on the stop. Yep. So you're saying And man, those guys, like shepherds, especially older shepherds, they're pretty hard to beat for dog training advice, and the way they tend to put it too, just super basic, not beating around the bush. Like one sentence from those guys can teach you more than I know it has for me. Like one sentence. It's just, and I just keep thinking back to it and back to it and back, and thinking, man, there's just so much in that one sentence. And that's one of them. That's all he just said. I'd walk over broken glass to correct my dog coming off a stop. And you go away and think about that. So the moral of the story, don't let your dog come off a stop. Because that is teaching, that's giving a dog a command that it doesn't have to listen to. And when you give a dog a command that it doesn't listen to, you're teaching it that it doesn't have to listen to you, and that will transfer to everything else that you do. And it's just totally turning the whole thing to shit, and he knows that, and that's why he's just like, no matter what, man. And we're going over that in the Palmico Dog Guide too, and sort of trying to bring all these principles into general dog training so anyone can use them. And that's what our stop command is. That's how we're using the stop command in the Palmico Dog Guide, because that same thing, that if you let that dog get up off that stop, you're giving it a command that it doesn't have to listen to, and that will transfer over into everything else that you do. That's the rule of transfer. That's one of our principles from the Dear Dog Training Blueprint. That's now one of the Palmico principles that's in the Palmico Dog Guide. The rule of transfer, it works both ways too. If you train a perfect stop, and that's basically what we do in the Blueprint and the Palmico Dog Guide with the long line, and the whole way we do it, you never let that dog get up off a stop. Even if you're retraining a dog and you just reset the standard, go, now it's not happening, and you just practice it until the dog gets it. Okay, something's changed and I'm not allowed to get up off the stop. And you just do that over and over and over until the dog just knows, when he says sit, I sit, and that's it. That standard transfers over into everything else that you do too. And then from there on, all you need to do is train the dog. As soon as the dog realizes, oh, this is what he wants me to do, and you've built that, and it's actually a relationship of, it's a bond and respect, and the dog, it's not a fear thing. Dogs respect the hell out of someone that when they say sit, it means sit and stay sitting until told to move. They really like following a leader like that for a massive range of reasons I won't even get into now, but they just do. They really, really like it. And when you set that up right, anything else that you teach that dog, you don't have to teach the control side of it. All you need to do is do it in the right way, so the dog can understand what you want it to do. And as soon as it realizes what you want it to do in that certain situation, it'll just do it, because you set it all up with the stop drill. Anyway, a bit of a side rant there. Can you see if you can refresh the comments on your phone? I don't know what the hell's going on with comments here. Cheers, mate. Hi, Kevin Reynolds. Quick update with Blue. Recall much better now, but still pulling on lead. Once he comes to the end of the lead, he does turn around and come to my side when I've stopped. Man, I can't even remember exactly what that's. A lot of dogs and questions in the last couple of weeks. Anyway, guys, we're approaching 2 hours. Oh, Taryn's in Patauru. that's actually, that Taryn's got the really timid, scared dog. And that's actually something that I would like to find a dog like that and go over all of the principles of that stuff in the Palmico Dog Guide, talking about dogs with phobias and how to fix dogs that are really scared of stuff. I'd have to meet the dog. I'd be willing to do it for free, though, if it works out and it's the right case that we can actually make some videos and put them in the Palmico Dog Guide, and then it helps us and we can help your dog and all of that. But either way, I'm definitely keen to help you out there, Taryn, if you're only in Patauru. So I'm over that way a bit, and we're in Papamoa. So if you want to send us a message, Big Game Indicating Dogs public Facebook page, and maybe we can have a chat about that. But yeah, we're at about 2 hours, guys. We did 20 minutes this morning, and we've just done an hour and a half. Sort of gone all over the place. Throw in the comments, guys, how you think these Q&As are going. We sort of keep working on them and changing them, and I'm trying to do them without doing the phone calls now, because I think the one we did last time, a couple of weeks ago, was quite good, and we didn't do any phone calls, and I just talked off questions and messages and stuff, and I sort of got a bit better flow on. I think it might not be like really specifically addressing each individual's question properly as in having a half-hour conversation with them, but I think it's just getting more overall general information out there that's sort of ultimately going to help everyone more and faster, but I'm open to suggestions on, do you like this, or were the calls better, or do I waffle too much, or is it all over the place too much, or how's the sound? Just anything really. We're just open to suggestions, particularly from people in the inner circle that's following the blueprint and all of that, because at the end of the day, we basically do all the stuff for you guys. And it's people buying the blueprint and the Palmico Dog Guide that sort of makes all this stuff happen, including all the good bastards that gave to the podcast fund, and now we're doing this live stuff with good sound and on a big camera instead of the old pixelated crappy setup, and it's all going up on the so the podcast, let's have a quick yarn about that. So the Paul Michaels Revolution podcast it's my podcast, obviously. I don't know how revolutionary it's going to be, but that was just like a cool word to put on the end of the nut instead of it was just the Paul Michaels podcast. And I just sort of like to look at what works for other people and do something similar. And I don't know, just good. A lot of popular podcasts have like some crazy word like the experience or the something, and it just needed something, and it ended up being that. So the Paul Michaels Revolution is the podcast, and it's got a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. But all of the Big Game Indicating Dogs Q&As and all the audios for these are going on in there, as well as other stuff like non-hunting related stuff. It's just a podcast talking about tons of stuff, but very, very heavily influenced by Big Game Indicating Dogs, dog training, hunting, fishing, and it'll be tons of stuff. But the audio for all of these are going on that. And a lot of people are like, oh, podcast, what's a podcast? And some people know exactly what it is, but a lot of people don't. And what a podcast is it's just audio, and it's free, and it runs through free apps on your phone. If you go to the App Store and just search podcast in the App Store, it'll come up with the top podcast apps. If you're on Android, it'll probably just come up with the Android ones. If you're on Apple, it'll come up with the best ones for you. Hit get, download it, they're free, and then just search the Paul Michaels Revolution in the podcast app, and you can listen to it for free. And the cool thing about podcasts and audios is, again, it's free. but it's only audio, so it doesn't eat your data. You can listen to it for hours while you're driving and out and about and all of that, and they're getting very, very popular. They're really good. I listen to them a lot with headphones while I'm doing stuff. I'm listening to podcasts while I'm walking the dogs. I'm listening to podcasts while I'm cooking and driving and heaps of stuff. So that's what we're doing there. It's all going to be on Facebook and YouTube in video format, but it's all going to be on the podcast too. So, and you know, like Jamie's saying, I'm saying, watch all my videos. And she's like, well, there's not enough bloody time in the day, mate. So the podcast is just one more way of getting that audio in. Yeah, that's probably about it. Are there any more questions? Can you just have a quick last scan? Just don't want to miss any. Oh, one other thing, guys, is we've also started a Patreon. Oh, Todd says, thanks, Paul. These Q&As are primo. Cheers, mate. Jonathan Griff, bro, the podcasts are gold, and it's good how we can learn from each other. Totally agree, man. Q&As are gold. Kevin Reynolds, Q&As are gold. Terrence saying, if you want to meet up, be easy as. I agree, and it'd be really cool. Just heaps of epic comments. And yeah, like heaps of awesome stuff happening lately, guys. Like sales have been all right. We may not go broke in like the next month, maybe. Podcast is up and running, got heaps of people wanting to come on that, and just tons of cool stuff. Like it's just really good at the moment. We've set up a Patreon, which again, some of you will know what Patreon is, some of you won't. A lot of you have probably heard about it and don't know exactly what it is. All Patreon is a setup online that allows people to give money to people creating online, and it's like a monthly subscription thing. It's real good. It doesn't cost us anything to set it up, and it's just a good setup. And like people like Josh James use it, Clay Tall Stories use it, and we've set one up. And again, if you Google Patreon and search the Paul Michaels Revolution on Patreon, and you'll have a bit of a read there, and I've just written a little blurb on exactly what that's about. But all that is about is like what we learnt with that podcast fund thing is we were constantly trying to sell a blueprint, and it's bloody hard, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and half the time we're just sort of freaking out trying not to go broke. But that podcast fund, we were like, shit, there's actually still quite a few people that if we set something up, they're willing to back us, which is really cool. And then the blueprint's not cheap either, so and once a lot of people have brought the blueprint, they're like, mate, can I buy a sticker or a t-shirt or do something to help you guys out, because I'm just stoked. So the patrons all set up, so you can sign up and give us money every month, and you can give us, we've set it up, and this is a good thing about it, as we set up, you can give $3 a month if you want, and if like 50 people do that, that helps us heaps. And we've got 3 or 4 tiers. We've got $3, $5, $10, and $20. So totally optional, totally up to you. But like I said, people are like, man, what can I do? And setting up that Give a Little page for the podcast, and we raised like $3,000 in about 10 days. We raised $700 in the first day, and we're like, well, why are we sitting around freaking out about going broke when we actually set stuff up so people can help us? There's people out there willing to do it. So that's that. So we've set up that as well. So if anyone wants to give $3 a month, $5 a month to help us out, it really does bloody help. And we just pour it all back into doing what we do, like we really do. and more every time we get money. It usually, from selling blueprints or the podcast fund, it usually just I just spend all of that, and usually way more, which is usually way more than what I should spend, and all back into just doing this stuff because I love it. And see, Kevin Reynolds says straight away, I'll support you on Patreon straight away because I love what I'm doing. And it's bloody hard to make it work, but it's looking dangerously like it might actually work. So I believe in it. That's why I just pour everything straight back into it, because we're always thinking super long term with the whole thing, and that's that. So, sweet as guys, that's me. I'm going to sign off. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for everything, and we'll see you around the ways. See you later, guys.